called Victory Ranch. It's about 26 miles outside of Park City. And this is where Steve's friends and family have come to watch a special screening of his documentary before the world premiere.
So thanks for coming to celebrate this weekend with us.
Steve's New Orleans Saints teammate Scott Fujita welcomes friends and family to a private screening of the Gleason documentary the evening before the world premiere. Many of the people in this room are here because they've been alongside Steve and Michelle through the steady, uncompromising march of ALS.
You know, there are definitely times in Steve's struggle with ALS where it has been sad, but overall his perseverance has been an inspiration for everyone that knows him.
And most everyone who knows him remembers the moment they learned Steve has ALS. For Saints quarterback Drew Brees, it was just before a crucial game.
I'll remember for the rest of my life the call that I got. I was sitting on a bus in Seattle. We're about to play in a playoff game against the Seahawks when I get the call that, you know, he's been diagnosed with ALS, because it was such a huge hit to all of us, because you thought to yourself, of all the people in the world, this is the last person who would deserve something like this.
Yeah, that was a heavy time. My uncle passed from ALS about 20 years ago, so I knew firsthand what it was about.
It was because of the experience with ALS in his own family, Fujita was aware of the signs. So even before Steve was diagnosed, Fujita started fearing for his friend.
I mean, this is in October now of 2010. He was experiencing these kind of muscle spasms and twitches. Didn't know quite what it was yet. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds like ALS. And you come to January 5th, 2011, and he calls and says that was the diagnosis. And to say I was crushed would be an understatement.
Fujita would do anything for Steve, so when he learned he might want to transform his video journals into a documentary, Fujita teamed up with Michelle Gleason's good friend Emmy, and the two spent 5 years assembling a team to work toward today.
I'm proud of them and the courage it took for them to share it. I'm proud of how the film turned out.
From football to filmmaker.
Oh geez, yeah, fake it till you make it, I guess.
There is nothing fake about this film. The audience at the Friends and Family screening are clearly taken.
I love the film. It really showed Steve's struggle over the last 4 years, but most importantly, it showed that he's superhuman by being human.
Pulled at all of my heartstrings, and I cried about 5 times, but I also felt very hopeful, and it felt important.
Like most of Steve's friends, Pearl Jam guitarist Mike McCready has known Steve since before he was diagnosed. That's when Steve carved out a permanent spot in his heart.
When he comes to a Pearl Jam show, I will play. He'll be right there, and I'll go out and play right to him. So, because I love him.
There's a lot of love for Steve here, perhaps because it's clear he delivers a lot of love himself. And his friends know Steve's positive impact will continue radiating far beyond their inner circle.
I think that's a very high order of a human being, and in Steve's position to be able to help other people with ALS.
How can I really make a true difference in this world for so many people? He's done it.
3, 2, 1.
Steve's likeness is already depicted outside the Superdome in New Orleans for his punt block that helped raise a city out of sadness in 2006. Turns out that statue, called Rebirth, just might be a symbol of Steve's first act.
Again, it's one of those things where I hope one of these days when someone says, hey, you know, what's the history on ALS? And someone could say, this is the person who single-handedly changed the course of this disease.
It seems the man who communicates with his eyes is amid a new rebirth. And just like the first, he's becoming a symbol of resilience in the face of true adversity. I had the privilege of watching a special Friends and Family screening of the film Gleason prior to the world premiere. I can tell you that this film is both heartbreaking and hopeful. Full disclosure, I'm a crier, so there were about 5 times in the film where I was tearing up. But something about this film brings you from the lows to the highs almost in an instant. It is a fantastic film, and I am excited for it to have a Spokane premiere. No one knows the hardships more than Steve's wife, Michelle. She's done few interviews over the last year, but graciously said yes when I asked her to share her experience with the film after the Friends and Family screening.
We're going to talk about how we met.
The moment Steve Gleason met Michelle Verisco, he decided this girl was like none he'd ever met.
She came up, and the first thing she said was, "Hey, oh, you're Steve?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you're a lot cuter than I thought you'd be."
Michelle admits she had some preconceived notions about the pro football player.
There you go.
But just as the two started talking, any assumptions melted away.
And really, from that day, Steve and I always really liked him. I liked being around him.
We really liked each other.
The two were married in 2008, about 2.5 years before the couple was delivered the devastating blow. Steve had something called ALS. The day of his diagnosis is at once crystal clear and a blur.
They could have told me anything at that diagnosis. I would have not listened. I didn't think that he was going to get sick. I didn't think that they were right. I didn't listen to anything that they said.
Today.
The doctors essentially said the same disease that took baseball great Lou Gehrig would also take her husband's body without touching his mind.
It's not easy for either of us.
Over the past 5 years, that's precisely what's happened. So when Michelle and Steve recently saw the finished Gleason documentary, they were transported back to the time their lives took that staggering turn.
First time, I think for Steve and I both was the most emotional. We don't really watch the footage that we have. And so it's the first time that I'd seen Steve moving and talking in a long time. So I think, within the first 2 minutes, we were both sobbing and it was crazy.
Michelle tells me it's a little surreal to be at Sundance.
This is a big deal, I think. I don't know how big of a deal it is, but I think it's a big deal.
And quite foreign for this New Orleans girl, particularly because she's not an actress.
For me, it's not acting, this is our life.
So as far as Michelle is concerned, she wouldn't exactly say congratulations are in order here.
I mean, that's the thing, that's the weird thing here is that everyone's doing this big celebration, and Steve and I just go home and have to live this brutal life on Thursday when we get home. So that's the brutal reality. This is fun and we're grateful and this is great, but that's the reality.
It's most certainly not the reality she would have chosen, but it is her reality.
The hardest thing about this whole thing is that I miss Steve. I miss the Steve that I married, and I love the Steve that's here now, but we've had to experience lots of loss.
Well, I won't give up on us.
So, with each loss, all they can really do is try and search for new avenues of joy. Team Gleason offers a chance to do something about the cruel disease that prompted Michelle's stark words. TeamGleason.org gives you a chance to make a difference by donating to help improve the lives of ALS patients and search for a cure. We've worked closely with Team Gleason for 5 years now. I can tell you firsthand they've made a huge impact to people in the Inland Northwest. Team Gleason, through the Gleason Initiative Foundation, helped convert a van to allow this ALS patient a chance to get out of his house for the first time in months. Your donations also helped convert this house for another ALS patient to make it wheelchair accessible and allow him to take a real shower for the first time in a long time. Your donations mean the world to these brave families, and we hope you'll stop by TeamGleason.org to consider how you can help. Here he is. Noah has just rounded the corner.
And as soon as I turned that corner, it was worth everything the previous 15 hours had gone through. The lights, the noise, the cheering, it was spectacular.
Such an exciting sight. He has been at this for more than 15 hours, got in the water at 6 this morning, battled the course, battled the heat, and battled the wind. It hasn't been easy.
It's amazing, yeah, it has been a challenge today. He's faced some difficulties, but with Steve Gleason as his inspiration, he has pushed through and is about to complete his second ever Ironman Coeur d'Alene.
It's the culmination of a year of preparation for this day, his day, to inspire change in the face of a heartbreaking disease.
Here comes Noah Cooper, raising money for Team Gleason. Noah, you are an Iron Man.
It's a title packed with all the pain, joy, and fear of the last 140.6 miles. Still, Noah's Ironman medal is one he'll keep no more than a minute.
I had a chance to recognize and appreciate someone that helped pull me to that finish line, and that was John Oakley.
John, I want you to have my Ironman medal. And when you're having a bad day, I want you to look at this and remember how your inspiration got me through a tough day, just like you've inspired hundreds of young men and women that you've coached and taught. Thank you for your example. Thank you for your inspiration. John Oakley, you're my Ironman.
Titled this special End ALS, and I don't know how that comes about other than through inspiration and human spirit.
It's a very, very complicated disease, as you know.
I've been having some strange medical issues going on recently.
The first noticeable signs were probably 2014.
I first noticed my limitations in my hands.
I have been diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
But the first time you hear a doctor say it, you know, it's emotional.
There isn't really anything that can describe how you feel other than just having your heart ripped out of your chest.
It's really sad. It's really, really sad that there's not as many people focused on ALS as there could be. Right? It's a really devastating disease.
But you're watching your loved one slowly deteriorate.
Once you lose the use of your hands and your voice and things like that, what am I going to do just to ask for help with my daily needs?
Because you have that fear of how are we going to get through this?
No white flag.
The whole thing that Team Gleason stands for, and encouraging you to live, you know, to the fullest, and you know, to do everything you can, and I think that's pretty impressive.
And Steve Gleason gives us the motivation to do this work.
Maybe somebody sees this special, maybe somebody saw the end of my race, maybe that person, she's a pre-med student someplace. She goes and wants to get into a clinical trial with Dr. Denton down at WSU Spokane, and they come up with a medical breakthrough that cures ALS.
I'm very, very confident in the science, and I know that we will have a drug one day that will help people with ALS.
I don't know what cures ALS down the road, but I know it starts with inspiration. That's going to be the cure.
Congratulations to my fellow bullpup, Noah Cooper, for finishing your second Coeur d'Alene Gleason Ironman. Also, thank you Creme 2 News for supporting Team Gleason. Awesome and easy.